All right, everyone, I think we can get things started, and we're recording our session today. So if you would like to share this with your colleagues or for those that are unable to attend the call, we'll record some information here. And then we also have contact information for our friends at AmeriCorps. So for follow-ups, I'm sure they'll provide what's necessary to get back in touch and some more information from the session. My name's Lawrence Heiner. I'm the Director of Training and Technical Assistance here at Cal Kappa. We're your association for community action in California. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day today to hear a little bit more about how to partner with AmeriCorps. And I won't steal any of their thunder. Let me go ahead and introduce you to Rebecca Curtis, who is the regional representative for AmeriCorps overseeing California, and probably one of your best contacts to start up or enhance your AmeriCorps services. So Rebecca, would you go ahead and take it away, introduce your team?
Sure, absolutely. As Lawrence introduced, I'm Becky Curtis. I'm the AmeriCorps Senior Portfolio Manager for the state of California. And I'm joined today by my colleagues, Christina Ferriero, who's a California Portfolio Manager focused on the AmeriCorps VISTA, that's Volunteers in Service to America program, and Takeo Kishi, who's the Assistant Program Director for the Pacific region of the National Civilian Community Corps, or NCCC. We're happy to be here with you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. I get a quick thumbs up if that's showing up correctly for you. Great. Fantastic. So before we begin, I did want to acknowledge and just say that I hope that all of you and the communities that you serve and represent are doing okay this week as we continue to experience these extreme weather events in California. I'm on the Central Coast, and my town was flooded on Tuesday, as many of ours were. We were lucky not to suffer loss of life here in town. I know we've lost 18 Californians across the state in the last 2 weeks, but we certainly are realizing the infrastructure and property losses and the variety of new and heightened community needs now in the days following our rain event. And watching the videos and photos come through from elsewhere in the state reminds me just how significant our community needs are right now and looking into the future. And if AmeriCorps can be a resource to support these community needs, please know that we're in. So on a bit of a lighter note, I wanted to start today just by getting to know you all a bit better. So I'd love to hear from you all in the chat if you're willing to contribute. I'm interested in what communities your agency serves, if you've managed an AmeriCorps program or site or worked with AmeriCorps members or volunteers before. And you know, often we find in groups of folks that we speak with that there's AmeriCorps alumni out there. So if there's any AmeriCorps alumni, if you can identify yourselves in the chat. And then one more question is just what are some of the most pressing challenges and needs that you're seeing your community facing today? So I'll give you just a minute. I'm realizing that I'm not able to see the chat this view. So Christina or Takeo, if you can call out some of the things that you see in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Daniel Ramos is saying, obviously, your organization serves a wide range of folks, but you're working with youth in Orange County, and you're currently managing a College Corps participant, but have had many AmeriCorps members over the years. And Daniel, if you are with CAP OC, which I'm assuming, we actually have a team serving with you currently and did last year, and it was a really successful project. So glad to have you on. And we also have, looks like Wilmer saying they've managed a site that used 17 members. Wow, there's a lot of members.
It's fantastic. What type of work are your members doing?
Maybe while we wait on that, Tashara has also shared Foothill Unity Center, supervising site for AmeriCorps NCOE, have had many AmeriCorps VIP members over 12 years.
Fantastic.
It's a long run. And then we have Stacy Johnson, Calaveras, Mariposa Counties, rural communities. We have not worked with AmeriCorps. And I also have Susie Lopez coming in from Ventura County, so next door to you, Becky. We've not worked with AmeriCorps before. And Susie, I have colleagues down in Ventura. I've heard it's been pretty bad down your way too, so hope you're doing okay. And then Thomas, California Human Development, serves the 31 northern counties of California with a focus on migrant and seasonal farm workers. We operated an AmeriCorps program some years ago. Our clients' challenges are steady and fair employment, affordable housing, and immigration and citizenship. And you were a Peace Corps volunteer in Nepal a mere 40 years ago. Yes. I love that. And then Wilmer replied, assessments intake and home visitation, family resource center staff.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, it's good to hear the variety of programs that have engaged with AmeriCorps before, and those of you that have not hosted an AmeriCorps program before, I hope you see some opportunity in what we can share with you today. So it sounds like many on this call may already know, AmeriCorps is the federal agency dedicated to national service and volunteerism. Each year we disperse funding and connect AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers to organizations like yours across the country to tackle our community's toughest challenges, often lovingly referred to as the domestic Peace Corps. AmeriCorps is also an opportunity for individuals to spend a year in service, either within their own community or with other communities across America. From the classroom to the outdoors and everything in between, our members serve to be part of the greater good. And AmeriCorps has a long history of service to communities, beginning in 1965 with the creation of the VISTA program, Light Community Action Programs. This was a program developed out of the War on Poverty. And followed by the creation of our agency as the Corporation for National and Community Service in 1993. AmeriCorps has grown and mobilized to serve during some of the nation's toughest challenges, including 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, and most recently the COVID-19 pandemic and our increasing climate disasters. And here's just our mission, of course. The mission of AmeriCorps is to improve lives, strengthen communities, and foster civic engagement through service and volunteering. So what's going on here in California? Well, here in California, nearly $164 million in AmeriCorps and local funding supports over 18,000 AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps seniors volunteers at over 2,800 local service sites. So I figured there might be some in the room. To put this in perspective, we often hold Peace Corps as the gold standard for service. And in 2019, which was the last year in which Peace Corps was fully operational, of course, the pandemic forced Peace Corps to cease volunteer operations abroad for a number of years. They're back deploying members again this year. But in 2019, there were 7,000 Peace Corps volunteers around the globe. So here in California, with our partners and grantees, we provide our great state with a national service force that's 2.5 times the size of the Peace Corps. That's a massive force of good for our communities. And even at that level, there's still significant resources available for growth and for new national service programs to develop. And I'll have to put the link in the presentation when I send it out to you all. If you'd like to learn more about programs specific to your local area, you want to check out our California Impact Report, which includes project and service site locations, program areas, and funding levels by county, so you can see specifically what's happening in your neck of the woods. And many of these programs, of course, are managed by community action agencies. Lawrence was kind enough to pull a list of community action agencies in California that had either had AmeriCorps programs, were working with an AmeriCorps program, or were providing referrals to AmeriCorps programs last year. And many of your peer community action agencies across the state and certainly across the nation are utilizing AmeriCorps programs and resources to help achieve their missions. So then what can AmeriCorps members and volunteers actually do to serve their communities? Generally, our members and volunteers are serving in one or more of these impact areas, including environmental stewardship, education, healthy futures, disaster response, economic opportunity, or veterans and military families. Our education-focused members and volunteers support students at nearly 12,000 public, private, and charter schools across the country. Through service, they improve attendance and engagement, they increase high school graduation rates, and expand college enrollment. Our economic opportunity programs serve as a pathway to employment opportunities and help develop vital work skills. Some of our members under this impact area are building and rehabilitating affordable housing, providing financial literacy training, and connecting people to jobs. When disaster strikes, we also repair homes, assist survivors, and help restore communities when it matters most. We've deployed thousands of members and volunteers to areas affected by hurricanes, wildfires, floods, and tornadoes, and I feel like we've had one of each of those in this state this year. We serve on environmental stewardship projects that cover thousands of acres of public lands across America, including many in partnership with the National Park Service and U.S. Forest Service. We conserve natural habitats, protect clean air and water, reduce utility bills by improving home energy efficiency. Our Healthy Future volunteers provide independent living services for 365,000 elderly Americans. They build the capacity of food banks, combat the opioid crisis, tackle homelessness, and address food insecurity. And we provide assistance to nearly 500,000 veterans and their military families by connecting them to education opportunities, jobs, and the benefits that they've earned. Our impact areas are intentionally quite broad. As you can see, there's a number of things that fall under any given category, and that's intentional to provide flexibility to suit each community's most important needs. So generally, whatever your community is facing, there's a way that AmeriCorps can help. This feels a little on the edge of corporate speak, but it's true. AmeriCorps programs actually do have the triple bottom line benefit. Community receives needed service as well as paid national service opportunities for local community members. The host organization receives capacity building or direct service resources that it needs to propel its mission. And our AmeriCorps members or volunteers receive, a paid national service position, as well as an end of service education award, and often life-altering experience, and a host of other program benefits. So AmeriCorps offers a variety of national service funding programs, and determining which is the right one for your community's needs is dependent on a number of variables. Is the need short-term or long? Are you seeking the service of college-age youth or our esteemed elders? Do you need to build organizational or community capacity or directly serve community members in need? For every program on this screen, there's a community action agency using it to support their goals. But there's too many programs for us to cover in this single session. So given the funding opportunities that are open for applications right now, we wanted to focus a bit more on the AmeriCorps VISTA program and also the National Civilian Community Corps, or NCCC. And if you'd like, we're happy to come back in the future to share more programs with you, and we'll certainly be sharing open opportunities with CalCAPA as they come up, so you'll receive those as well. So next, I'll pass the presentation to Christina Ferriero to share more about the AmeriCorps VISTA program, and then to Takeo Kishi to share the NCCC. So all yours, Christina.
All right. Thank you so much, Becky. Next slide. Thank you. Yeah, today I am excited to talk to you more about the AmeriCorps VISTA program. AmeriCorps VISTA is the national service program that strengthens efforts to eliminate and alleviate poverty through volunteering and the mobilization of resources. VISTA strives to empower communities and wants to engage residents and people who will benefit from the project in the planning, development, and implementation. AmeriCorps VISTA supports efforts to address poverty by providing opportunities for Americans to dedicate a year of full-time service on a project that will create or expand initiatives designed to empower individuals and communities in overcoming poverty. Since 1965, over 220,000 AmeriCorps members in the VISTA program have joined the fight against poverty by helping local organizations expand their capacity to make change. Next slide, please. Thanks. So one important distinction you're going to hear about AmeriCorps VISTA versus the other AmeriCorps programs is the difference between capacity building. VISTA only allows its members to provide capacity building to anti-poverty programs and organizations. Their work is meant to expand the scale, reach, efficiency, or effectiveness for programs or organizations, while other AmeriCorps programs allow members to provide direct service. What does this mean? So let's take an example of an after-school tutoring program. An example of an indirect service and capacity building that a VISTA would do can include create a volunteer application and assignment descriptions, designing a system to effectively recruit and place volunteers, and designing volunteer training materials and a handbook. The system and resource materials will remain in place at the organization long after the VISTA member has completed their service. An example of direct service would be an AmeriCorps state member sitting down and tutoring a child. The AmeriCorps member would work directly with the beneficiary. The members do not engage in that kind of service, but instead work behind the scenes to build systems to support and expand that type of work. Now, you heard Becky earlier discuss kind of our focus areas. So let's think about how, with those focus areas, how do we think through capacity building activities? Some of those can include fundraising, grant writing, research, and volunteer recruitment. AmeriCorps members in the VISTA program serve in an office setting and gain experience and leadership skills. So just to kind of get the ball rolling and thinking through the different focus areas, under education, a VISTA member could potentially develop a volunteer mentor program to support students in their academic achievement and keep them on track to graduate. Or build out the next generation of tech leaders by organizing robotics after-school programs for low-income youth, or design cost-effective solutions that support teachers and tutors. Under economic opportunity, VISTA members could create partnerships to bring new economic opportunities or workforce initiatives, or serve to develop financial literacy trainings or connect people to jobs. For veteran and military families, VISTA members could help recruit volunteers and raise funds to provide housing and services for homeless veterans. Under disaster services, VISTA members could possibly support volunteer recruitment and placement to ensure coordination and support between organizations assisting disaster survivors. Healthy Futures, VISTA members can help promote health and wellness, combat the growing opioid crisis, bridge a gap between individuals and health services, and tackle food insecurity by fundraising or developing donations that connect resources to local families. And last, environmental stewardship. VISTA members could potentially expand an economic development project to address financial barriers impacting farm workers in marginalized minority populations. Such a VISTA project could include using and developing skills in grant writing, architectural planning, and urban planning. Let's talk a little bit about what are some of the project sponsor responsibilities. So there are numerous responsibilities that a sponsor undertakes to help make the VISTA experience positive and meaningful for all of its members. Some of the most important responsibilities involve managing the VISTA members. As a sponsor, you'd be responsible for drafting catchy opportunity listings to announce your position and attract top quality candidates. In addition, you'd recruit, screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for service. Recruitment and placement of VISTA members will take place on our web-based VISTA platform that has developed social media graphics, messages, and other promotional items to assist with these recruitment and awareness efforts. Strong sponsors also provide an in-depth on-site orientation and training for all incoming VISTA members at the beginning of their service and conduct ongoing training, which includes professional development opportunities. And it's probably no surprise that the best projects offer day-to-day supervision and support of their members. This includes introducing and orienting the VISTA to the community, confirming that members have the space, supplies, and equipment necessary to carry out their service, providing reasonable accommodations to members who request them based on different abilities, and ensuring that the members' activities are in line with the VISTA assignment description. So who are the AmeriCorps VISTA members? Candidates must be at least 18 years of age, a citizen, national or legal permanent resident alien, and pass a criminal background check. Overall, candidates must have a high school diploma or equivalent to serve as an AmeriCorps member. Individual sponsors may set local educational requirements for their project. Candidates must be willing to make a full-time, one-year commitment unless they are choosing to serve in the summer program. Sponsors have a variety of skill and educational requirements from potential members to complete the assignment successfully. Thriving members are practical professionals that champion sustainable solutions. We've had members start AmeriCorps service with little to no knowledge in terms of graphic design or grant writing experience. Because they were flexible and committed to learning, they developed their skills in these areas. National service kickstarted their career. Over 80% of AmeriCorps members credit AmeriCorps with their successful career transition. So what are some of the member benefits? Members serving in the AmeriCorps VISTA program serve full-time for 1 year. They build capacity for nonprofit organizations and public agencies to help them create more effectively generate the commitment to private sector resources, encourage volunteer service at the local level, and empower individuals and communities. So again, just wanted to go over some of the standard kind of member programming. Anti-poverty projects, full-time 1-year term, rolling enrollment with thousands of opportunities, and they can apply any time of the year, a living allowance and non-competitive eligibility after a year of service, and healthcare assistance and childcare is also available. And last, how to apply to become a VISTA sponsor. There are 2 steps in the VISTA program application process. First, an interested organization submits a concept paper. AmeriCorps staff reviews the concept paper to gain a better understanding of the proposed project and to determine if the activities and the organization are in alignment with the VISTA's programming priorities. If AmeriCorps approves the concept paper, the organization is invited to submit a full application. AmeriCorps staff are available to provide technical assistance and guidance during the writing of both the concept paper and full application. So I just want to note that the next concept paper submission deadline is coming up rapidly, which is next week, January 18th. But please know there are 2 additional cycles that you can apply, and those dates are April 5th, 2023 and June 7th, 2023. Now I'll hand the presentation back over to Becky to kind of share her experience running a community action program, VISTA project. Oh, I think you're on mute, Becky. Sorry.
Oh, don't you hate when that happens?
Yes.
So prior to working on the AmeriCorps California team, I had the unique pleasure of serving the Hawaii, Alaska, and Pacific Territories team. And the travel was certainly great, but it's really amazing to be serving my home state now. On that team, one of our projects was with the Rural Alaska Community Action Program. And the Rural Alaska Community Action Program, also known as Rural CAP, they manage just about every type of AmeriCorps program. So they have an incredible AmeriCorps Seniors program that pairs Alaska Native elders with at-risk youth in their villages to teach cultural knowledge and skills as a social determinant of health. They have an AmeriCorps state and national program. It's a mentoring program that brings youth into the Alaskan wilderness for trips and helps them build confidence and skill in the outdoors. And they have a really robust VISTA program. Many VISTA programs, as Christina described, place a few members within their organization to work on building programs to alleviate poverty, develop systems, conduct community needs assessments, and more towards alleviating poverty. Rural CAP took this concept an additional step further by placing not only internally to their organization for things like program development and planning new initiatives, but also by acting as a resource connector for their community, facilitating the development of capacity building projects and placement of VISTA members with partner community nonprofits and agencies, allowing small local organizations to be able to tap and benefit from the needed capacity building lift of 3 years of VISTA member service. With the program's administration covered by Rural CAP, and with the help of funding from an AmeriCorps VISTA support grant that fully funded their VISTA coordinator. Rural CAP allows all eligible community organizations the chance to apply for VISTA resources on a 3-year rotating cycle. So at any given time, any given year, they have 10 or 11 nonprofits or local agencies that they are placing VISTA members directly with. And they manage about 15 to 20 VISTA members a year, as well as a VISTA leader who helps to coordinate the VISTA members and help with their professional development and team dynamics. And they serve across the state of Alaska. So it has a regional model, serving in public health agencies, in reentry programs, in land trusts and Native associations, in food sovereignty programs, and in workforce development programs. And because Rural CAP works with AmeriCorps to rotate resources throughout the community, they're able to continue their program for significantly longer. A typical VISTA program, it's meant to be a capacity building lift, a short-term lift to get you to the next level. So our projects typically run about 3 years, sometimes 4 if a program needs a little bit more time to get to a sustainable level. Rural CAP has been operating this rotating model with AmeriCorps funding for about 13 years now. Of course, not all programs develop into this model, and most engage 3 to 5 VISTA members a year for about 3 years for that short-term capacity building lift, as Christina described. Because I had seen this model in action, and I see the massive need in communities in California, I thought I might share this possibility with you as well. And here we have Christina's contact information. So if you are interested in learning more about the VISTA program or exploring some options of where this could be used within your community, feel free to reach out to Christina directly. And we'll have all of this contact information with live links in the presentation slides when we send them to you after the fact. So from there, I'm going to hand the presentation over to Takeo.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Becky. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Takeo Kishi, and I'm an assistant program director with AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, or as we call ourselves for shorthand, NCCC. So why don't you go ahead and move us up to the next slide. Just to revisit the broader AmeriCorps structure. I think Becky did a great job of talking about that Alaska project, where the sponsoring organization had many of these streams of service in play, the AmeriCorps seniors, the VISTA, the state and national. And as you can see, NCCC is one of those other streams of service that AmeriCorps can offer you and your community. And we have a pretty significant programmatic difference from the other programs. So that's what I'm going to try to speak about today. Next slide, please. Now, we operate nationally, and I'm representing the Pacific region. So I sit in Sacramento from California, and that's where my office is. I cover multiple states, but California is our biggest state. Obviously, most of our projects coming from there. So at the end of today, if you have any questions and want to reach out, I am the person to go to for NCCC. Next slide, please. Now, our mission, I think, we could also make that case for the triple bottom line. I think, very much in alignment with our other streams of service, but it is to strengthen communities and develop leaders through direct team-based national and community service. So we're very much there to support your communities by partnering with your organizations. And then obviously want to have that big focus as well on developing our core members and their leadership skill set. Next slide, please. All right, so here's some of the basics of our program, and you can start to think through how this differs from VISTA. First thing right off the bat is that we are a team-based program. So we recruit nationally. We get anywhere from 150 to 240 core members in Sacramento, and we train those core members up and break them into teams of roughly 8 to 10 members. With one of those core members being trained for an additional month, more highly vetted and deploying as a team leader. So these teams work, live, and travel together, 24 hours a day they are together, and they're working on team-based projects. So our core members do have an upper age limit, which is 26 years old. We do all the recruitment for this program, so you don't have to recruit members for this. We recruit nationally, and I'd say a good breakdown for our average team is maybe half the folks are recent high school grads taking a gap year or going a different route, and the other half the folks on a team might be just finishing up their undergrad. So our projects happen anywhere in that 9-state region that I just mentioned. And the duration of our projects are anywhere from 3 to 12 weeks. So our core members are serving this entire 10-month service year with us, but within that, they're traveling across states and counties and cities, serving multiple projects over those 10 months, anywhere from 3 to 12 weeks total. And we have rolling applications and deadlines that fall within that I'll speak about in a second. One of the biggest things about our program is that it's team-based, it's short-term projects that are high-impact projects, and it's also a residential program. So these teams, they live together and live in that community where they're serving, which is a really beautiful part of what they're doing. Now, I love that VISTA, when you're doing the recruitment for your own members, you can get Indigenous folks from the community, folks Indigenous to the community you're serving, which I think is really wonderful and probably a priority when it can happen. But we also understand that sometimes the recruitment piece is a big lift, and our program does offer, an alternate way of having members serve your community. So next slide, please. Eligible sponsors, we can work with just about anybody who is not a for-profit And so anybody on Cal Kappa would be a good partner for us. Next slide. Our service areas or focus areas also very similar to how Becky laid out earlier, intentionally broad. A lot of our projects fit within multiple of these categories. If you have a project idea for our teams, we very likely can serve it. It's just about figuring out how to make that work, and we can figure out which category it falls under. I want to say the biggest difference between us and Vista is that whereas Vista is a capacity building, maybe behind the scenes, back office, oftentimes type of project, we're very much direct service based. So you want to be thinking about, I have a team of 8 people. How can I put them to work full time within my community? Now, what that work looks like really varies. I know Stacy, you said you're from Calaveras, Mariposa County, and as an example, a lot of work that we do that we call urban and rural development might be defensible space or home hardening type projects on private homeowners' land, low income, seniors, people with disabilities, things of that nature, working with Firewise. I know that Mark, you talked about Riverside. We've had a pretty good footprint in Riverside County, and you talked about having those issues with higher costs of living, including things like gas and housing. And I think you're probably speaking for everybody on the call today when you list that. And that's a common type of project we will do is affordable home construction, partnering with Habitat for Humanities or self-help type organizations. We also do a lot of disaster response. So we're in Santa Cruz County currently responding to disaster, and we will deploy all over the state as needed. So if you need help recovering from these storms and how that's hit your community, that is something that we can serve, and I'll speak a little bit more to that later. But the biggest potential overlap I see with Cal Kappa organizations would be supporting VITA projects. I know that's what we've done with CAPOC and a lot of other anti-poverty organizations as at least the backbone of the project. If you need a lot of volunteers to help you file income taxes for low-income folks, oftentimes we are a great resource for that type of work. And we can also do volunteer outreach, but just to draw one distinction with Vista, whereas Vista might be able to, for example, help you, as Christina said, help you develop your handbook for volunteers. You obviously couldn't have 8 people working on that, but you might be able to have our team and split them and have 4 people out tabling or canvassing to recruit volunteers, and the other 4 are supporting a food distribution or something of that nature. So there's a lot of flexibility in how we design our projects, and we oftentimes partner multiple organizations together as well. So whereas you might be able to provide 20 hours or 30 hours or something of that nature per week on your project, we might also be able to pair with a county park in your area that can use help with infrastructure improvement and fill out the rest of the hours for their work week. So let's move on to our next slide. What we provide, as I said, we do the recruitment. We run everybody through federal background checks and drug tests. We also recruit the team leaders separately, and they are really the liaison with that team. They work with the team, live with the team, but they're the liaison between the team and your organization and our staff in Sacramento. We provide the vehicle, so they come in a 15-passenger van, and we cover the gas. We have insurance coverage, essentially as if they were federal employees, so workers' comp, basic health benefits, and general liability coverage. And then we provide their budget for food or laundry, any tolls associated with the project. Probably not if there's a toll needed every single day, but ad hoc. And then when it comes to reporting, it's a little bit more streamlined on our side, just given the nature of the work that our teams are usually doing. So our teams are responsible internally for tracking and reporting on deliverables, or what we call quantifiables on our side. It just requires a signature from you to verify that. Okay, next slide, please. So we are not a fee for service program. So there is no exchange of money. You do not need to pay to host our team. However, I do want to go over the things that you do need to provide if you want to work with us and host one of our teams for 3 to 12 weeks, right? And so these are the areas that make projects successful or present barriers to working with us. So I'll just kind of go down the line. I think, training and technical supervision are really big. The first thing is, if you're going to, for example, have them do VITA work, you can't expect them to come in VITA trained. They need to have that training on hand from your VITA coordinator, right? Or any associated tasks. In addition to that, they need to have that technical supervision. So you need to have at least enough staff capacity to be able to coordinate their work and supervise them, especially early on in their work, depending on the complexity of the task. If it's, assembling food kits to distribute to the community and you've supervised them, and after a while they've got that down, they don't need 24-hour supervision to carry out that task. But if it's something more complex like VITA, we always expect your staff to be somewhere on hand supervising them as they're helping people file their taxes. Tools and equipment, anything that you need specifically for the project, we're asking you to provide. We provide teams general PPE. But for example, if you're doing VITA, we can't come with the laptops or computers. That's something you would need to provide. Orientation, we ask that you orient the team to the community, help them with that community entry. And I would say the biggest thing about orientation, and this goes on throughout the duration of the project, is really service learning. What we're really looking for is an organization that can help the team and the core members understand why they're doing the work they're doing. So really connecting them to the community need, the impact, and understanding why they're there is a huge part of what makes our program work. So I'll end with the last two, which are probably I should switch the order. These should be the first two I talk about because they are often the biggest barrier. But the most important building blocks to even get a project off the ground. So one, we need 40 hours per week for our team. So it'd be 40 hours for every individual to work on while they're with you. Now, like I said, a lot of you might think you have a good project, but there's no way you have 40 hours a week for 10 people. That would be a lot. So as I mentioned earlier, it's fairly common for us to pair organizations together, and you might already have connections in the community to other organizations. So as an example, we have a tax project we're doing in San Diego that was the anti-poverty group. We did it last year, and they are partnered with a local sustainable ranch where the team is doing a lot of environmental conservation, fuel mitigation work 2 days a week, 3 days a week. They're doing food distribution, volunteer income tax assistance, and helping seniors with the computer lab. So there's ways that we can blend that. So even if you're interested but don't feel like you have 40 hours of work, I'd appreciate you reaching out, and we can see if we can set something up. The last one is housing, and this is the biggest lift. And I think you all touched on this when you talked about some of the community needs and barriers you're facing. Affordable housing is true across the state and really across the country. Everybody's facing that. And so what we need to successfully have a team on a project is we need the sponsor to provide some form of housing. And that can be a challenge, particularly in urban areas. But we're very creative and flexible in what that looks like. So sometimes it's the local housing authority has some kind of in-between limbo housing that can hold a team for a couple months. Some organizations have their own housing that they manage, that they can set aside. We're not looking for, one room for every member, every 2 members. We can usually fit a whole team into a 3-bedroom house. Sometimes it's a church basement that's vacant. We can bring in cots. Maybe there's an outdoor education camp in your community that has some spare cabins in their off season. It's very flexible what the housing looks like. And that's usually where we have to make connections to find which partner in a composite has that housing. But we do need kitchen access where they can cook their meals, and bathroom and showers. Although that can oftentimes be housing at one place and then showers at the local Y down the road or something of that nature. All right, next slide. So I have a partial list here. I looks like I didn't get my my United Way partners, but we've done a lot of VITA projects over the last several years. We're kind of growing that out. And you know, as I mentioned, CAP OC listed here, they were actually our sponsor of the round last year, first time working with us, and we're working with them again this year, doing a blend of a lot of their programs. But primarily VITA work. And they split our team of 8 across 4 different resource centers. They send 2 to each center to support their operations. And the team loved this project last year. They're lucky for them, they have housing within their own program to offer to us. So that's made it easy. But yeah, this is just a partial list of partners, and we'd love to collaborate with any of you if you have anything in this realm. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, I've got some numbers here from CAPOC. So 958 returns the team assisted. That was a team of 10 for 11 weeks last year. Really boosted the impact. And when you look at it from a numbers standpoint, you know, I really think the team and the organization, the community could really feel that impact. So very proud of that partnership. Next slide. Here's that San Diego Metro Area Advisory Committee on Anti-Poverty partner we worked with last year. You can see they were expecting to file 300 returns with the team, and the team almost, you know, tripled that, coming in at 1,100 returns. They got it down to 30 minutes per return. We're all advanced filers at both of these sites. But this is that project where they came to me after a webinar like this, MAC, and they said, we don't have housing at San Diego. And I turned around and found a past sponsor who hadn't worked with in a while doing that conservation work, who actually had work, and they had a suitable campground at their ranch. And being San Diego, we were able to make that work. And it's been, and this project won Sponsor of the Year last year. So very excited to return to working with them. Next slide, please. So unfortunately, all of our deadlines have just passed. We have 3 general rounds that we try to fit our project work into, but I wanted to put this up just so you could know for next year that our dates will be very similar, although they're actually going to align better with tax season. So round 2 will actually go through April 17th, I believe, to match tax season. But you can just see we also have a 2-step application process, much like Vista, a concept form, which is quick and easy, and then the full application being due usually a month after. So you just want to think whenever you'd want to host our team, you go out, you know, maybe 3 months before that, and our deadline is coming due. So if you are interested in partnering with us in this avenue, definitely send me an email or reach out after Becky sends the slides and contact, and I'd be happy to add you to our email list so you always know when our deadlines are coming up and can just open up a conversation with me about applying. Next slide, please. So the last piece, you know, very relevant topic for California, and I really appreciate the way you covered that up top, Becky. But, you know, California and the people in the state are obviously being hit really hard right now. And this is an area where we are very flexible and can support. We do a lot of disaster response and recovery, especially around fires here, but you know, we're going to be doing mucking and gutting and cleaning up of business fronts and homeowners properties in Santa Cruz, starting MLK. We can do disaster assessments, mass care sheltering. We worked with Afghan refugee resettlement last year. There's a lot of ways that we can engage with your community. And if you want to work with us within disaster response recovery, you or a partner agency in your community needs support right now with all this flooding and the recovery in the wake of that. It's a separate application process. There's no deadline. It's on an ad hoc basis, and it's actually a slightly different application, which is much more streamlined and easy to fill out. And we can usually turn that around in as short as, you know, 3 or 4 days. So if you're interested, reach out to me and I can get you that application to you or your partners to take a look at. And if you get that back to me, you know, there's a chance we could support a community need that you might have, you know, right now in real time. And we would obviously love to do that. Okay, next slide. So I think Becky's sending all this out if you don't have a chance to capture this here. But again, yeah, my name's Takeo Kishi, and here's a horrible headshot that I added in here. But if you are interested at all in learning more about NCCC or potentially applying, or just following up in any way, please reach out to me, email or phone. Technical assistance is my game, so I'd love to work on setting something up. And I understand that likely for our traditional projects, that means setting something up for next year, as early as next fall, November, all the way up to July. But I would love to begin those conversations whenever you're ready. So thanks, Becky. I will pass it back to you.
Great, and thank you so much, Takeo and Christina, for joining as our experts in the field for today. Just a final summary slide that I liked the picture, though commonly AmeriCorps members are not actually raking leaves. I need a better active photo here, but I liked the caption. It reads, "Through our grants and funding, AmeriCorps harnesses America's most powerful resource, the energy and talents of our citizens to solve community problems." So it looks like we have a few extra minutes. If there are any questions, I've included a link at the bottom of this final slide that can help connect you to all open funding opportunities. That's a good one to bookmark. Definitely sign up on our website. It's AmeriCorps.gov. You can sign up to hear about open opportunities that are coming up. And if you're interested in talking through any of these opportunities at greater depth, you can follow up directly with me or Christina or Takeo. And also, I do want to plug, if there are other organizations, agencies, or associations in your area that you think could benefit from learning about AmeriCorps opportunities, please feel free to introduce us. We'd be happy to do a presentation like this specific to your community. So I'll leave it open just for a second in case there are any questions that you all want to ask in the chat or live.
As we wait for some questions to come in, thank you, Becky and team, for coming out and presenting for us. This is really fantastic. Also, thank you for the shout out for CAP-OC. Those are really amazing numbers. I hope everybody saw that. Not to diminish any of the work that's done with any of the other agencies. Really appreciate the partnerships that exist and look forward to some of these new ones. And it looks like Linda's got a question, so I'm going to back out of the room.
You're on a roll, and you're on a roll, Lawrence. That was hard to say. Good morning. Just a thought occurred to me. We just recently did a roundtable with our energy provider network through CSD. And one of the big issues that we're all dealing with is finding folks who want to learn how to weatherize homes. And I'm just thinking out loud here and wondering if there might be a way for us as a statewide two groups to put together some kind of training program that could introduce the Corps members to the energy conservation programs and the jobs that are available, and maybe get some training going and whatnot. Again, I'm thinking out loud, but it's a definite need that was expressed by the network. And we're all struggling. We're getting tons of money through the Department of Energy coming up here for a 5-year grant program that would really stabilize a lot of folks and giving them good jobs and good training. So again, just a thought and wondering how that might evolve, if it's even reality.
It's great to hear that those opportunities are coming up, and that funding is coming for our state to move in that direction. I know that there's an AmeriCorps state state program that does work in that field, and I'm going to pull their name after this call and I'll connect with you. If there's a way to connect the dots here, I'm happy to do that. Yeah, it is within the AmeriCorps program, Daniel. Do you remember the name of the person working in there? I'll pull it after the call.
Thank you.
And there's certainly there are programs developing trainings, VISTA programs that are developing skills trainings and working with professional partners in that realm in a number of different areas. So I can also look at that and see if there's a model in place that we could explore together.
That would be great. Thank you.
And Mark asked in the chat, the VISTA program provides capacity building. Would this extend to partners we have if we equip them with volunteers? So I think you're probably thinking of the rural Alaska model, and they are sending VISTA members to local organizations, and those local organizations, the VISTA members are, it's still a requirement that it must be a capacity building project that the VISTA member is engaged in. So they've sent VISTA members, for example, to a community health program, and they were designing a volunteer program for that community health center. And so it was a capacity building lift for a local organization. This being funding a coordinator for the partners. So the VISTA support grant funding, typically that's provided for organizations that are looking at developing a larger scale VISTA program. So Rural CAP was interested in providing 15 to 20, I think at one point they were up to 25 VISTA members throughout the community. So their coordinator was internal to Rural CAP to be able to coordinate that across multiple organizations. But that's certainly an opportunity that could be open to similar programs that are starting up. Well, great. I know that we're getting very close to the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of time. If you do have additional questions or want to talk through project ideas further, please do feel free to reach out to myself, Christina, or to Keo directly. And thanks again for sharing your time with us today. Our community action agencies are absolutely our community backbones, and we just really appreciate all that you are doing. And Lawrence, thank you so much for the opportunity to come out and speak with the CalCAPA members today.
Oh yeah, you bet. No problem at all. And as soon as you provide that information and the recording is all finished uploading, I'll send all that information out this afternoon, including contact links. I know that many of you have been hitting me up on the side with requests for more information. So feel free to engage with our friends at AmeriCorps. Sounds like they're waiting for you to knock on their door. So thank you all for participating. Look forward to that information coming. And thank you, AmeriCorps, for joining us today.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Lawrence.